It being 6:15, I'll call to order the meeting of the Carver Redevelopment Authority for November 30th. We're just going to jump right into it. We have updates on a few of our projects. The most notable one is the Route 44 development project. We've got a couple of things going on with it. The Savory, and Pat, did you attend the working group last week?
Yes.
We did.
Yeah, we were both there.
Yep. You want to give us an update on that?
Yes. We had, the chief gave us a document that had been put together between he and Hillwood presented it after their meeting, and he had some comments on it, but there was movement towards the center on both sides.
Okay.
And I seem to sense a bit of confidence in the chief that we would get to a good place. So that was encouraging. We talked with Mark Townsend was there representing the select board. We talked about that. We talked about their ability to vote to on our article for the warrant, whether to support it or not. And there was some discussion about that of making sure that the members of the select board realize that their vote on the article to change the zoning is not a yes or no vote on the project, that it's a or B vote on the project that the developer wants to do, or something from the list of already approved project types that are in our zoning laws right now. So that was kind of at the tail end of the meeting, but it was, I think that Mark kind of saw things in a different light after that a little bit. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So
I'm not quite sure I understand what you're talking about.
It's
We have changes, and they either people vote yes or they vote no.
right, but Mark seemed to be under the impression, and he was talking about the the 5 different members of the select board, each having a different viewpoint on a lot of different things.
Okay.
And that there might be some pushback against the zoning bylaw change or the language of the article. And ideally, we would like to go into town meeting with a 5-0 unanimous approval from the select board.
Right.
We need
Right.
everybody on board
Right,
to
exactly.
do this. And Mark was a little concerned about it. And what we pointed out to him was the fact that, if there are members of the select board that are not 100% in favor of the way things are right now, that doesn't mean that Montello Street remains the way it is forever.
Okay.
If it doesn't get passed at town meeting, it means that there are a list of items, hotels, retail big box stores, that are allowed without a special permit on that green business space. So
Without the zoning changes.
without the zoning changes, there are a lot of things that can go there.
Well, I need to get educated because I'm falling short of what you're just saying. I just assume, I don't want to say assume, but I thought all those changes that Hillwood and his group were requesting it's a package. And that package is part and parcel for the quote-unquote green business park?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm halfway there. And
You're not all the way there.
really?
Yeah.
And the green business park is, it's like, whatever,
Yes.
bigger than Montello Street. The
Well-
green business park is what you just said, hotels, corner, whatever. Hopefully, the town would be educated towards that before they go to town meeting to realize where the green business park is. Because when we had a dual planning board, a couple people didn't even know where Montello Street was.
Right, well,
Hello?
I think the point is that in order to help ensure that we get as many positive votes at town meeting, we need each of the select board members to vote yes on the amendment, on the article.
I agree.
Because they've each got their own constituents that favor their decision-making, and we need everybody to feel comfortable. If we have a split select board, then you're going to have the debate
Oh.
in the middle of town hall.
Most definitely,
So-
most definitely.
So what we need to do is make sure that the members of the select board understand up front that what we're asking for is to enable Hillwood to build the facility that they're looking to build with the 65-foot height and the other zoning changes. But if that gets voted down at town meeting, that doesn't mean that that parcel of property stays the way it is now as an open field. Whoever comes in as the next developer, if Hillwood backs out, can come in, and there is a list of about 15 things in our current zoning laws that can be built there now without a special permit. It's almost like a guaranteed right to go in and build it. A
As
hospital
long
is
as
one.
they're within the 40-foot
Exactly.
whatever. So why aren't we, prior to, like now, where's this education we're supposed to give our
Well,
town?
that's coming.
It's coming.
That's coming.
Before we even get there, though, the point is, with the select board, my point with the select board is, they have to approve all the articles. And
You know
if
what,
they-
I can't even hear you, Pat.
The select board has to approve all the articles, regardless of what they feel or not. If there's not at least a majority vote to move the article forward to town meeting, it's not gonna get there.
That's not exactly true. Is that correct, Mr.
Well,
LaFond?
Well, it is to the extent that the select board has control over the warrant. The select board can decide not to put articles on the warrant, or decide that they want to put articles on the warrant. So they control the warrant. Now, that doesn't mean, usually, the warrant is completed and approved by the board before they actually make any recommendations on the articles. But ultimately, the board makes the decision unless it's a petition article.
Okay.
Can I
Now,
just
again,
ask,
who, I think we discussed it
can I
prior
just
to
ask
this,
you?
who presents the article, that's a different issue. It's just that, from a bare bone legal authority, the select board sets the warrant.
Okay.
So, through you, the question I have for you is, the planning board is sponsoring these articles.
Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, what are they sponsoring?
It's,
Well,
Who's sponsoring
the
the
planning board
articles?
has to hold the public hearings because they're zoning changes.
Okay, but that's prior to
Yes.
the April town meeting.
But this could be an RDA article.
It is.
I didn't think it was, I thought it had to go planning board all the
No,
way.
planning board holds the hearings.
The planning board holds the hearings, but the RDA will be at the public hearing.
right, the planning
And the
board is-
RDA will speak to it at town meeting.
The planning board is required to make a recommendation to town meeting on all proposed zoning changes. So whether it's the select board or the planning board or the board of health, if, any entity in town, any, department can make can propose a zoning article. The board of health could propose a zoning article, that would be their article, their name under it, but that still has to be part of a public hearing that the planning board holds, and the planning board is required to make a recommendation. But the planning board isn't sponsoring the article. We just have to make a
So,
recommendation.
I just want to set the table for me. So the night that the planning board has their hearing, it's a public hearing,
Yes.
they have to take a vote unanimously or otherwise on each individual one or as a whole?
Well, I think that's their decision.
It's what?
I don't think we can tell them how to do it.
That's their choice.
That's up to them.
I mean, that could be a problem from the start. Somebody in the board says, no, I don't think we need to do that. You know what I'm talking about? We could get in doo-doo trouble before we even start with the planning board.
Well, keeping
Well,
in
I'm a
mind
little
that
concerned.
the planning board, it needs to make a recommendation. That doesn't mean the town meeting is gonna follow the recommendation of the planning board. Planning board has to make a recommendation. Town doesn't have to follow that recommendation.
Well, town meeting, they get up and Bruce Mackey will get up and he said, when you're looking for the recommendations, he'll get up and say, the board voted 4-1 or whatever the board is, and that, they record that, and then it goes on to the other one and so forth. I mean, that's basically what happens at town meeting.
Exactly, but at town meeting, the RDA, or Stephen Cole, will speak to this, to our zoning changes.
Right. My concern is before the town meeting,
Well,
before Stephen
I
Cole gets
think-
on.
I think the next section, when we talk about Paul, will answer some of your questions as far as how we're gonna get our information to the proper people. And that includes, we have to set up a meeting with the select board, as a group to present. We should set up a meeting with the, planning board.
Right.
Another one. We've
Yeah.
had kind of initial one, and now things are going a little bit faster. Now that we have a date to submit the warrant article, up until just recently, we were kind of in limbo as to whether we were gonna get to town meeting in April or not. We talked about trying to do it in a fall town meeting, that didn't come off. So we've been kind of, the posts have been moving a little bit, but now we have dates. Our warrant article is due 12/20.
12/20?
And 12/20, and town meeting is 4/12.
12/20 is the warrant article.
That will be submitted.
You have to submit it to who?
We'll
The-
submit
The
it to
select
Elaine.
board?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then it moves on its own, and at the time,
And then it moves where?
it will move along with the town meeting warrant, with the other warrant articles, but our specific project, we're hoping for a full-blown launch, I'd say, by the first of the year,
So,
of our information.
so when it comes on 12/20, the select board's meeting says whether they want that to appear or not to appear?
Yes, now keep in mind, the articles are due 12/20, then there's an administrative piece to put this warrant
Yeah.
together, a draft warrant for the select board to look at. But at some point after that, at a subsequent meeting, the board will vote, to set the warrant. Basically, they will decide what articles will be on the warrant. That's the
So
legal authority of the select board.
when does the planning board come into this 12/20 timeframe?
They have nothing to do with the
They don't.
12/20. They have nothing to do unless there's a warrant article. And until the Board of Selectmen says, there's a warrant article, there's no warrant article. Now, in the meantime, there's nothing that prevents RDA or someone else to, ask to meet with the planning board, in an informal manner prior to a public hearing.
Mhm.
In fact, I think that's a good idea, because I think it's important for the planning board to know in advance why all these pieces are important.
Oh, yeah,
Why
absolutely.
this is a package, even though presumably they could decide one article, one zoning piece is they don't recommend, another one they do. Is that likely? Probably not, but I think it's probably a good idea before
Yeah.
a public hearing.
Yeah,
To have that conversation.
I mean, we could be screwed before we even start. Planning board, excuse me, but the planning board could, there's what, 5 members on that planning board? And one could object to something because somebody else told them something, and we haven't even started yet. You know what I'm saying?
But Joanna, that will be up to us to make sure that they have complete clarification, and anything that how we've talked about the misinformation getting out there on social media or whatever.
Correct.
We're addressing all of that, and that will be our third discussion point tonight. But first off, the only thing we're waiting on is a KP Law review of the zoning articles. Anything, Rick?
I'll have to check again. I know I
What-
sent them again
what
to
did you say?
Amy, and I
You're
don't know.
waiting on a KP law
We
review
want
of the
them-
zoning articles?
Yeah.
And it's due 12/20 from the board?
They've had it since August.
They've had it since
They've
August.
had it since
Well,
August? Hello?
I would also say that articles that are submitted aren't always in their final form.
Yeah,
Right.
Articles are, over the course of time, the town council, reviews each article, but not before the warrant is cast, because, you don't want to be reviewing articles that aren't going to be.
Right, so if I remember when we were doing the conservation restriction,
Okay.
we approached the select board, they approved of it, it was written up preliminarily, and then it went back as a warrant article to be put, they voted yes, and then it came back to the select board to agree whether they're gonna put it on, the town meeting was, then, flash, whoops, we get the town meeting warrant, and then it goes, whoops, totally changed. totally change. So
Well, again,
is that gonna happen to us too?
Well,
Hello?
Not to us.
Okay,
no, that's just.
I hope. You know, I've been down this road before, and it kind of scares me. How many articles are we presenting?
Just the one.
I think it's one article.
One article?
It's the zoning
One
change.
article, there's, I think, maybe three or four
I thought
small
I
zoning-
thought Hillwood his team had a few other changes
I think
that
there are
one
7
night.
I
total.
think there's that. I know that I asked them to review the zoning of some of the parcels, which they were doing again. I just want to
Okay.
make sure that every parcel that they're going to use, because Route 44 has acquired some in addition,
Yep.
those are all, we might have to have those changed.
Right.
But we're really kind of on top of it. Now that we have a 12/20 date, and I just need some kind of a look-see by KP Law, because we didn't write all of them. We looked at them and discussed them, but we certainly didn't write them, so we need.
When
them
you say we,
approved.
you mean Hillwood's team?
No, us, the RDA. We looked at them and we discussed them,
Okay.
in discussions going back to July.
I mean, the last meeting I remember when Hillwood's team came, they did a presentation. There was a lot of articles that they had said that they had written. And I personally said to them, are you going to represent what you wrote? I can remember that. I have to go back to the minutes. The guy, Area 58 was there.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, legally they would supply us the legal ease that we
Yeah, we've
needed.
had
And
that
that's what
since-
you're talking
We've had that
about.
since August.
And that's what you're talking about.
And just as a matter of form, I sent them into KP Law to be just reviewed for a matter of form and substance and anything.
And they
that-
can change them too, because
They
do-
they'll
they do
simply-
that.
They'll simply advise us.
excuse me?
They'll advise us so that we have a full reckoning, that we know what
Yeah, I
they're
think
asking.
the,
It goes above and beyond like the height increase,
Yeah, town council.
but not a lot.
Job is to review the articles to ensure that that it's accomplishing what you want it to accomplish.
Exactly.
Whether or not the town supports it is a different issue, but to make sure that it's in a form that accomplishes what this board wants it to accomplish.
And that's the one last little piece of the puzzle I want.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed.
All right, there are 2 things that I just want to say. We would prefer to have the planning board recommend the article. They don't need to recommend it in order for it to be on the warrant. The select board is the only group that has the ability to say yes or no to it appearing on the warrant,
I get it.
all right?
I get it.
We do want the planning board to say yes to it, because if the planning board approves it, and did you see the email that Stephen Cole sent with the law?
No, I did not.
All right, if the planning board approves it, has a vote that is in favor of recommending it, and it fails at this town meeting, we can bring it up at the next town meeting or have a special town meeting.
I thought we had to wait a certain amount of.
Only if the planning board doesn't recommend it.
I see.
If they recommend it, you can bring it back as soon as you can, as soon as you want to.
Oh,
I was
So-
unaware of that.
Yeah, Stephen sent the
Yeah.
thing from the, Mass General Law
Right.
that says that. So it's important. And another thing that you brought up, and I think this is something that we should think about and talk to the planning board about when we meet with them, is taking however many sub-points there are and breaking them out as an individual vote at town meeting. Because we don't want the height of a street lamp
Yeah.
to derail everything else.
Right, the width of the street.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that, they read the all 7 and say, if anyone has an objection, just say yes when that.
yeah, it's
when that
like the
article
money
comes up.
items, when they say, no, don't want that money item,
Yeah.
then you go back.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's what we should do when that.
That definitely a group.
comes.
But that planning board, I guess you gotta start talking to them.
Well, we can meet with them. Is there anything else that I missed from the planning, the working group meeting last Wednesday?
We have the,
Thank you.
Oh, Judy.
our Judy issue. Do you hear any more from her, Rick?
I have not, no,
You
not
have not.
since we received this, I received this email.
And we'll talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But we had a meeting yesterday here with Stephen Cole and the two representatives from Hillwood's PR firm. And we mentioned the fact that, that Mac Utzi from Hillwood should have heard from Judy, but we were not sure if Mac was satisfied with the answers that he got.
And I do have he reached out to me today, and we will be having a phone conversation in the morning, so I know everybody is also having some conversations. I'll certainly ask him that question and let the board know if anything comes from that.
Okay.
I think that Jake Owen had said that a draft of some sort had been given from Judy to
Owen
Matt.
Egan?
Was it Jake? Who was sitting next to me?
Owen
Oh.
Egan.
Oh, sorry.
Who's Jake Owen?
Who's Jake Owen?
Okay, Owen Egan.
Oh my God, I hope I haven't called him Jake. But anyway, Owen did say that they had, it was his understanding that a draft of some sort had been sent to Mac, and they didn't feel it was complete yet, but that they were trying to work around whatever gaps in the information.
And what was this called?
This is it's a fiscal impact analysis, because we need to be able to present the benefits, the fiscal benefits that are coming to the town at certain stages. Savory had suggested if we can find out as well, finding out this would be what we would get if, you know, they do as of right, which would essentially be one set of figures. And if they do the build-out that we're kind of looking at, that's what the fiscal impact study was supposed to be, but she was missing, she had some gaps in her information, and so we have not caught up on that yet.
Who hired her?
Hillwood did.
Hillwood.
Yeah.
We gotta look at that
Nothing like
Well, I-
Fox
yeah.
watching chicken coop.
Yeah, well, that's
real closely.
where I'm sending it over to.
You know?
Her finance guy.
Yeah.
It's Sharon, it's nothing like the fox watching the chicken coop. Hello?
Well,
Well, I mean, we have backup at every corner. You know, we'll take their set of figures, and, you know, Pat's very experienced on the FinCom, and we can have the FinCom look them over, or Rick look them over, and see if there's anything that they were missing, anything that they underestimated, anything that they certainly overestimated. But we don't even know what numbers we're even working with, or where it's supposed to be
That's the
coming from.
problem.
I mean, we just
After
don't
all
know.
this time, we get communication from her basically telling us her frustration. Well, that's not really helpful.
right.
Yeah,
No, it's,
And where is this presentation gonna take place? And to whom?
what presentation?
This fiscal
Fiscal
impact
impact.
analysis?
It was sent to Mac Utzi because they hired her. It was sent to Mac at Hillwood.
Okay,
But instead of giving him a finite number of this is what the fiscal impact's going to be on Carver, she didn't have enough data or examples to pull from to give him a number. She ended up giving him a range. And we don't know what that range is, if it's, you know, from 1 million to 10 million.
Yeah.
We have no idea. Or if it's a narrow range or a broad range. We
Right.
just don't know because we weren't given that, we weren't shared.
so what is Hillwood gonna do with it when he sees it?
Well, it's part of their
Well,
selling of the project to the town.
Yeah, but we're under the gun here.
Well,
Hello?
we're under the gun for town meeting.
Yeah.
They haven't even broken away from George McLaughlin yet.
No.
So, you know,
And I'm not sure that'll happen until after town meeting.
well, yeah,
Um,
I'm not sure either, but that's a big thing. In my mind, that's a big thing.
I mean, people
they
from
may
the
not want it
town.
after town meeting, if it's a no.
Yeah.
That's the way that I read it.
That's,
Yeah,
well,
they may
that's
not want it,
what
and
they
George,
said.
it's back to George, it's on George's desk again.
It's back to George again. But from my conversations with Mac Utzi, it's been that whatever rises and falls with town meeting, they'll have to make, you know, he puts it, they'll have to make a decision. And I understand what that means. The town votes down a portion of the proposed bylaws, that means they're not gonna be able to build a state-of-the-art facility. And we're back to what we refer to as the lesser choices. And there's also been, kind of intense negotiation with other departments as to benefits that the town may recover in order to have this facility in our industrial area in North Carver. So I see our goal is we need to get some kind of feedback from KP Law. We need to have the warrant submitted, or a warrant article on 12/20. I would guess that our next meeting, we will probably discuss the bylaws in some detail as to what the proposed zoning changes in some detail.
I hope. I'm optimistic about it. What is the holdup?
I don't know, I wasn't dealing with that, I know Jim was, but I did
Yeah.
reach out, sent an email to Amy at the end of last week.
Do we, we pay the bills. Don't we have the right to call?
I go through Rick.
Yeah, well,
Don't we have the right to call?
who's paying the bills?
We are.
We are.
All right.
We pay the bills. We're not some other board within the town that has,
The RDA has paid thousands to KP Law.
yeah, it's not cheap. And
Yeah,
we
I
pay
know.
the,
And we pay them out of our own funds. They're not town funds.
so we ought to have some opportunity to pick up the phone and talk directly to the person who's working, we're paying for.
Well,
Hello?
yes and no.
So, do we have your permission?
Well, I think you'd have to work that out, because obviously everybody can't be making phone calls.
Yeah.
We need somebody who's designated to do this,
I mean, we established that Rick was the head, where that, and maybe when the new planner comes on board,
That's gonna
that.
When is that? Have we got a planner?
we have, somebody has been appointed.
What did you say?
We have appointed somebody to the position.
Okay.
She has accepted the job. I do not yet have a start date. I should have a start date very soon here.
I apologize. I had a hearing test. I truly need hearing aids. But my children told me to wait for the Build Back Better, because I might get a better deal. Well, I'm having a problem right now, so I really
Build Back Better.
apologize.
The infrastructure.
No, the second one, the one they're going to be,
Oh.
the Build Back Better has hearing and dental
Oh,
and all that stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
the safety nets.
So-
Santa Claus.
I think I might go out and rent some, so I can, could be more appreciative. I know you're sitting there, and I had to ask him to talk louder, so.
Well,
I appreciate it.
The other point to move on, is that Savory and I attended kind of an outreach meeting yesterday that I thought was very productive.
Yeah, Paul was there as well.
Paul Kelly was there as well, and we discussed the strategies and laid out the strategies for what we feel has to be the dissemination of the proper information and the ways to go about it. Savory's really been taking the lead on this part of the project, and if you want to give a quick summary.
Well, there were 6 of us here. It was Sharon, myself, Paul Kelly, Stephen Cole, and 2 representatives from, I don't remember the name of their company. Consensus, who are the PR people hired by Hillwood. And we basically sat down to map out a timeline on what we were going to do and a strategy of what it was we wanted to do. And I think we came away with some good ideas. Our timeline is very closely connected to the timeline for the warrant articles. We're hoping to have something up and online on the 20th of December. Because we feel that even if there's no vote, the select board meets on the 21st, which is 3 weeks from tonight. And I know they're not gonna vote on our article, but they may mention it, and that's gonna get the word out. People watching it on television are gonna start knowing that this is coming, if they don't already. So we've gotta be prepared to have the website up so people can go and find answers to their questions. The website is going to be, as we've spoken before, it's going to be a lot of the documentation that already exists, the MEPA study, the URP plan, any documentation that we have that whole thing about the giving them permission to purchase the properties. And we're going to be working through Stephen Cole. Stephen has a contract with PAC TV, which is the Plymouth area cable TV. And they've got a very robust video making capability.
Like production
Facilities.
studios.
And we're going to do a piece from the Carver perspective of what this can and will mean to Carver moving forward. We've asked Hillwood to put together a very short who we are type video, highlighting projects that they have done in this area that are completed, so that people know that they're just not a Texas firm. You know, there's the one out by Springfield, there's the one up in Andover. Yeah, so we've asked them to do that. We have your revised FAQs to look at tonight and vote on, hopefully vote on tonight to give them to Paul. I did say to the folks from Hillwoods from Consensus that as soon as we approved our FAQs, we would send them to them for their going over. And there's also some FAQ questions that are in there that we can't answer, but they probably can. So by showing them our answers and the format of our answers, they will be able to answer their questions in the same format, so that it follows a consistent look and feel. So we realize that a lot of our content as we move forward is going to be derived from comments made on social media. I think we're going to have fewer people writing questions on the where it's available on the website. It's going to be more monitoring social media, seeing what misinformation is out there, then writing the question that answers that misinformation, and putting it there. And again, the single answer on any social media comment on this will be, for information on this project, please click on this link. And that's going to be the answer across the board. We're not going to engage the public through social media. So I think that's pretty much where we ended up. Is anything else?
No, we talked about, Savory had a good point about how to break down the answers to, almost like when you get your voting book from the League of Women Voters. It's just like, here might be the question, but here's the quick answer, and here's more information if you want it. And that's kind of the format that we were looking at. But it's almost, we're kind of feeling like we're pressed for time and we want to get this launched as quickly as possible, because people will start hearing about it. They will start forming opinions, and if we don't have enough correct and appropriate information out there, or a place where they can ask more questions, short of coming to our meetings, then this is something that we have to kind of get going now.
Right.
We also talked with them about outreach to Plimpton residents. They've been concerned, and we want to make sure that they understand that it's all coming, it's all part of the package. Is Hillwood and Stephen Cole probably reaching out to them for their concerns. But Paul Kelly is here.
Right, we can take a look at what Paul did. One other thing I just want to mention is that we talked about making sure that the citizens know what the vote means, that it's not a yes or no on something going there. It's a yes to this project or a yes to something else. And to that end, what we talked about was doing a chart that basically across the top had the potential uses for the property and down the side, things like number of jobs created, money to the town, traffic issues, and then with an answer in each one of those boxes. So that, you know, if for instance, and whether a special permit is needed to do it. There's a list. I've got 13 things on this side of the list that don't need a special permit at all to be done as long as they're under 40 feet. You know, one of the columns is going to be a neighborhood housing plan, which in effect could be a 40B. And how many jobs is that? None.
Yeah.
What is the impact on services and schools?
Schools, right?
Enormous.
Yeah, so, you know, that, we need an arena where the people can compare A and B to make a good choice, as opposed to being in a paragraph form, which, well, people will probably get halfway through and stop reading.
Yeah.
So as long as there's a chart, and they can say, well, if this happens and this, here's where I am, it's bingo, type thing, and this is the impact.
So this is all gonna be on the website?
Yes.
So on his RDA questions that the last meeting we were at, you weren't there, but you said, you used my RDA. I left it at home, by the way, and I went through it carefully, and I have comments, but I forgot them. Hello? Forgot it. So, but one of the things, Paul, and I think I saw you, and I told him that my idea was this. There was one particular RDA question, and the answer was, this has been going on since 2015 through 2017, I think it was, where it was signed off. So every time we had a meeting, we always had a video. So my idea was to go back to Area 58 and just just group all those from day one all the way through. And the most important culmination was 2017. We had a joint meeting with the select board here, where Will St. Clair presented one side and Maureen McCulcum presented the other side. It was a fantastic meeting. It kind of explains anything and everything that anybody should know. And we signed off all on that. So I think that was important. So I think I asked Paul Kelly, and he said that's possible to go back and get all of that and just group it.
Yeah.
You know how when you go to Google and you want to find something, it brings up all these other ones? Well, that was my idea, to bring up all of them. Somebody might want to only see the last one, that's fine. Somebody might want to see the beginning, somebody might want to see all of them. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? You could see all of them. We had a lot of physical pressure from Plimpton and so forth and so on. So it would be good for people who are truly interested to see all that.
Yeah, 'cause then
I had some other ideas, they're in there, but that was a more complicated one.
Yeah, the website could have like a video library almost.
Yep,
Oh,
yep,
Repository of all the old stuff.
Yep.
So you could have the questions, and then separately you could have something where you could go and you could group it by year or month or subject or whatever. And then, I don't know what people think more logically about. I don't know if people would think about it in terms of a timeline, or if they would think
well,
more
it
about.
started at the end of 2015 in
Yeah.
December, and then it wrapped around all of 2016, which was the meetings were all held here with Area 58. And then into 2017 was January,
Yeah.
when we had this big meeting with the select board. It's the culmination of it all,
Almost
so
like you would
that's
want
so
that- You
important.
almost like want that one on its own with a banner that says like the culmination of the discussion. Look here, and then you could have like groupings of the other videos if you're looking for more information. Like here they all are, but
Yeah.
this is the one to watch if you want to see us go through, A, B, C, D, and F.
Yeah, and
And some people may be reviewing those to see if there were anything like promises made or
Yeah.
things like that, because those were all speculative. George was developing the property, but he didn't have an end user in mind yet. He didn't have an idea in mind yet, and now we're dealing with a concrete plan.
well, there was plenty of resistance from Plimpton. I mean, this audience was filled to the gill just about every time we met, because there was a lot of controversy. The biggest problem was eminent domain,
Yeah.
which really never happened.
Never happened.
Never
Not
happened.
even not really never happened. it never happened.
Right, exactly. And that's something we truly, as a committee, said that we did not ever want to have happen. And so, yes, you have to portray that as well. But it would be good because there's probably a lot of people who maybe sat here as well and gonna look at our website and they wanna regurgitate, if you will,
Yeah.
all these things, all of which were important. And to me, the most important one was the very last one where we had with the board. That went on for like 3 hours. It's a long one. It's a long one.
Maybe I'll look that up. Paul, I mean, we've talked about the website. Can you give us kind of a sample of what you've got
You
going
seem to
with
be
us?
in the middle of,
No, we're ready for you now,
okay.
right?
Hello, how are you?
Am I in the wrong
No,
seat?
no.
Oh, okay.
Nope, not at all. I want to talk a couple things about just websites as a whole in the sense of the development of it. One of the biggest things that's different from other mediums like print paper and things along that line is that you finish it, it goes into a package and it's done, it's complete. The good thing about websites as a whole is they're organic. So you can start at, okay, here are the basics, and then little by little you find a video, okay, you want to be able to do it. As long as you have a way to organize it in there, or a place for it, a bucket for it to go, then it's all the better. But so you don't necessarily keep, I mean, it's good to have all of these different things in there. They can be done, for the most part. But for the most part, you have to, trying to figure out how to say it, but it's organic. So for the most part, don't try to put everything into one way or another. The reality is, and that's the question that you have to go back on for something like that, and it's not a yes or a no, it's just how many people will actually go through that 3-hour meeting from 6 months ago. That might be the pertinent meeting, but every other meeting that surrounded it, maybe not so much. And that you want to help to make it easier for that person. One of the things I'm very big on is what's called user experience. That when somebody gets on, that it's nice and quick and easy, that it's comfortable for them to go. So that's basically, I wanted to make sure, because they started getting
Is
some.
there a danger in overloading a website?
It has
With content?
because it is digital, it can add all of those things. But as usual, sometimes too much is a distracting. That, it can be in there, you can't focus on everything all at once. This is going on just how I interpret. What I did, I'll show you my process here to go through. Originally in one of the meetings, there was basically a wish list. These are all things that I want to make sure, or you guys want to make sure that get into this. What I tried to do is try to get those buckets to make it easy for somebody to be able to click through. Actually, I want to step back one more. One of the original requests at the beginning of it, and there was a concern one way or another, was there's a town website, that initial one, and there is the need for an outside one. The outside one, for me, is more robust, and you can also get in and out of it a lot easier. You can also build all kinds of different things on it. The town website is something I'm meeting again with Joanne tomorrow, and we're meeting with
Thursday.
And we'll meet
Shelby.
with somebody from here as well, and we'll work on some of those things. One of the things that we did immediately right off the bat was on the initial website page, the town website page, it was requested that North Carver project take over the place of what was the police station, and that has already been done, and there is a separate page that is there. It is the basics, one way or another. And again, that's one of the things that we need to figure out, whether it's with Stephen or with yourself or otherwise, is to figure out what the purpose is, what the agreed marriage restrictions are with the two of them. What do we want to have on one site and what do we want to have on the other site? It doesn't necessarily have to be exclusive, but it's just, you have to kind of have a purpose for each one. But the goal originally talked about is have all the basics, so you can have the RFPs or any things along that line on that to be able to do it. And then be able to have a link down the bottom of it. And I've done that with other organizations, that you can then click on to then go to this outside one that can give you much more, if you have that interest. If you just want to know Joanna's home address, you can find that right on the town things on that. So now back to the outside one. From there, what I did was I went and took this list, and then within website stuff, they talk about it all kinds of different ways. They talk about the architecture, site maps, wireframes. They have a bunch of different names they haven't kind of agreed on. But what I ended up doing was trying to figure out from each one of these, now all of a sudden, you can go, like for some of them, the projects, you now have pull downs. I can change colors, I can change things on that, that's easy. I'm trying to figure out the actual structure, the buckets to put things into. And again, especially at the time and otherwise, I've been kind of pulling together, so things like the FAQs page, things along that line, all that content is very useful to be able to do. But I tried to have it set up, so now, not only do you have these, but you can pull down, and now all of a sudden it'll go to the individual, and you can put, with whatever agreement that you have for information, you can put it all on these individual pages. I tried to, on the art fluffy side, I tried to make colors that were more friendly, that were more comfortable for the Carver area, things along that line. I also designed to put up a website that I thought was,
A logo.
logo that was something that, at least for consideration one way or another. And I tried to bring in some of the things of the green with the land and the grass and things along that line, as well as some of the water concerns, things along that line. But that's what that. And I can talk for a while on that if you want, but you probably glaze over, so I don't want to do that. So
No.
I'm very appreciative of the time. So each one of these things, as you go, this can then be dynamic. So now all of a sudden you add another project, like project number 2, whatever one you want to be able to get information on, they'll be able to get to very easy.
90 Forest Street.
No one wants to get that.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about that.
Not horror films. No.
That is a horror film.
And so would this be the page that's linked to,
Yes,
The
this
web
would be the
hall.
outside, so now, what I can do, right now, I've been doing it all off the grid, if you wanna call it. For the most part, that way, it is live so people can see it, so within the group can see it, but it's not published under a URL.
okay,
So one of the things that we probably need to discuss coming up shortly is what the URL that you want to be able to do. So it's probably carverrda.gov or whatever. And then I can make sure in that URL, that address, basically up at the top. Right now, I'm just using one off Wix. But that one there is nice and simple, that now all of a sudden you can just keep reinforcing. If you need anything else, you can get to it.
okay.
But
So
within-
would that be the link that we would answer social media?
Yeah, if that's what,
If-
you can do it a couple different ways, and that's where I think we had a side discussion at one point. There's something called a landing page,
Mhm.
which for the most part, it's a page within the website that
Okay.
you can go through and send somebody, if you wished, directly to, like you'll see up at the top, the URL, it says North-Carver-Project. You can send them right to that page that gives them that specific answer. And some of the discussion is maybe you want them at the beginning of it so they can kind of see it in
Right, that's
totality.
what we said
That's
yesterday.
fine too.
Yeah,
We can set it up whatever way that you want. That's easy enough. Things like videos, things along that line are easy enough that we can do. For the most part, now, most people's wireless and otherwise have kind of caught up. So
Mhm.
now you can watch videos. 10, 15 years ago, only a select few really had the.
So they'd
the
have
bandwidth to
the
be able to
Wi-Fi
do it.
power to watch streaming. We talked a lot about a drone
Right.
oversight of the project as just almost like as an intro.
Right.
This is
And
what it
so
looks like
this,
now.
this is just purely, it is, it's a wireframe architecture.
Okay.
I'm trying to give it a little bit of visual to it,
Okay.
but this is something that now all of a sudden you can get with and say, I really would like to have another section that says this, or maybe if we put it under here, at least bring up the questions one way or another. And under here, excuse me for the bonuses, there's things like the FAQs.
Oh, Paul, can I
Trying to see
interject?
if oh, feel free.
Okay, I'm giving up my email because it's full. Shelby said it's full. I use JML Comcast, so I'm gonna give up my carverma.org or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And we're gonna discuss that on Thursday, of course.
Mhm.
But does anybody, you have an idea what you wanna call that email? That's what I need to know. Do you wanna call it
Well, we
RDA?
probably want somewhere along the line, and again, sooner rather than later, if you make the decision, then it's out of the way, and then you can get on to more pressing stuff. But something that is, ask a question of the RDA at, and I can even make it through if you need, this website. So now all of a sudden, it's an address. Or you can have Gmail. You can put whatever you want in front of it. But a particular address that everybody can get to, that all of a sudden, if they want to see the questions that are coming in and things like that, is that what you're?
Right, but I was going to give up the carverma.org one.
So there is one within the town. One of the initial things that we found out is that they only have so many different
Right.
licenses that they can use for emails. And Joanna was saying that she
Yeah.
can give up hers, and literally we can change that front part of it.
To
that-
whatever,
So they don't have to add another license, they can just.
RDA
put it right
projects,
in there.
RDA project, whatever you wanna call it.
And now I'm having,
And that would be at carverma.org.
Yes, yep,
Okay.
now
So,
I'm.
so if, say we wanted to ask a question, because since you'll have test runs,
It's more of, I believe.
if he typed it from his own personal email and the address was to
Since he's a
carverRDA at
citizen, it,
carverma.org,
yeah,
so that would go to who?
it can go wherever you want it to.
to whomever you wanna have access to read it.
Okay,
So we can have it, so it goes into one place that everybody, Gmail even, we can have it forwarded even from that.
Right.
If that's what you wish.
Sure.
I think we need to
Or
talk
you-
about
I
that.
just want one,
Yeah.
I don't wanna
But
be
that's-
involved with any of that.
That's what, there's a lot more decisions that need to be made, and then, the answer is generally, just like when Joanna said, can you put this into this? Yeah. Okay, it takes time to be able to do that, and it may take away from which do you want first, and things along that line, so now and that's why I brought up the organic part, is because it's better off to not strip it down, but basically keep it as simple as possible
Mhm.
at the beginning,
oh, yeah.
and then you can just keep on adding, especially if the RDA decides after this project particularly, that all of a sudden they want to keep it for other projects that come up. Not that they would be, anything along that line. In here, I just realized, I think I lost Wi-Fi,
You did?
what we were just talking about. So these are probably things that I was going through testing, and I was able to do it. But for the most part, there are, I contacted Serped, I've contacted Amy, who is the town historian over at the library,
Mhm.
talked to CCAT, trying to find out any overall videos, logos, things along that line.
Mhm.
I've gotten, that's where most of this information has come from.
Mhm.
Serped had a series of drone videos, that there is one particular page in here that's just Carver from above videos that they have just in stock. I know Savory has said that it's not necessarily over that area, so we still need that from Stephen.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
consensus.
Well, Hill was gonna do that.
Consensus has them.
When
Yeah.
they raised the balloon to see how high 100 and something feet were gonna be, did they do a video, Hillwood?
No, what they did was use it as, I think, as markers for their renderings.
Yeah, they did still photos from different, they drove around from different locations and
Okay.
took a picture from each
Oh,
place.
they didn't do a video.
No.
No, because they're using those, and I've seen some of the early ones, renderings
Okay.
based on that.
Okay.
If we build this, this is what you can see from Route 44. If we build this is what you can see.
Because they
from-
told us they were
One
gonna
color.
float balloons and we could see
They did. I
the
saw
height
them.
of it. No, where it would
It
be
was at-
open for us to go see.
It was at 65 feet.
Yeah, Sharon and I went.
Yeah,
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
In addition to that, also, I don't mean to point out, because she's here one way or another, I've talked with Catherine as well,
Mhm.
trying to look back on other articles that have been done on this particular project. And they also have photos and videos, very, very short videos, but videos that, case by case, we should be able to get permission to be able to put on both. We probably have to get permission, you know, things that this is courtesy of somebody along that line.
Yeah, I think we definitely need a brief history of the site that ranged everything from, you know, a dump to a sewage treatment plant of some kind at one point.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's
Stumped
had
down.
a torrid past.
yes, and two, it's a brownfield,
in my
it's,
eyes.
it was, I think.
Does
we
Carver
moved it-
Reporter save all those, Catherine?
They are online.
Because it's
Yeah.
been a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's part of the digging and the bringing up, as we find the things and as we get them. If you say, well, there was an article that had this type of picture I really liked from back in,
mhm,
then I can talk with Catherine or the other people there, and then we can get particular permission then to go through. They don't necessarily just send every file they ever had,
mhm.
because it wouldn't make any sense. One of the other aspects that was brought in, and I wish I could show it on this, but I can't with the Wi-Fi, is I also started focusing on Carver's industry and basically the history of Carver. So it started off with the history with Amy talking about that Carver, believe it or not, has a lot of industry background to it, from shoelace factories to the federal furnace to, I mean,
Cannonballs.
there were a lot of factory type things that are around here. We went through some changes one way or another, so it's not a new, so somebody that might be saying, well, the rural or otherwise, and I've been as concerned as anybody on that, but just to be able to spell out and show some pictures, and I got some pictures from, they have some archives over at the library and things along that line that show those
Yeah.
different
Oh, yeah,
videos.
yeah.
And they are there. I just can't get to them right now. In the front page, what I tried to make it easier, there's two different things, just from again, just structure, architectural way. One is that if you go over this logo wherever you are, it will automatically bring you back to the home page.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to be going, you know, there's an arrow and if then and push and undo. Just push that and you're right back to the beginning.
How are you gonna let the people know that?
Well, most people, for the most part, whenever you're on a website and you see a hand pop up,
Yeah.
that means that it's live. It
Okay.
can go someplace.
Mhm.
If it goes off that, it's not live. It just has that cursor basically on there, one way or another. So there's two aspects that we're doing at the same time. Just a quick update. I can send you, I sent off to Stephen, because I just got his email and everything, and I'm meeting with him tomorrow at 10 in regards to if I can assist at all in the video that he's doing with Plymouth.
Can you be at that?
And that's whichever way, it's the content, I'm just there more from the production end of it, one way or another. I've had some experience with CCAT and things along that line on it, so I might be able to do something on it. And anything that we have, as long as I know that we have permission to be able to use it, then he can use it, I'm sure, in the video, and then I'll work with him on that as
Mhm.
well. But content is the biggest thing. a lot of these things have been derived from previous literatures that you've had, but you may look at it and go, it's better worded this way.
Mhm.
That's fine to me. I take no offense
Mhm.
on a lot of things, but especially when it comes to this stuff, that stuff. Does that kind of make sense overall? So what I can do, if you want, is, I don't know what the best way to do it. I mean, I can send basically an overall, so you can look at it, link. You did an email to you guys, so you can go through and just all of a sudden take a look and go, and this is the stage for serious questions and answers within yourself.
So you would send us the link that you used
Right.
to get to the homepage?
Right, and
Okay.
with Stephen, I'm gonna actually do it a little bit more, in the sense that he can help me in the sense of editing or otherwise, but I'll still be the mothership.
Mhm.
So, but that way, he's involved in this as well, because ultimately, it's one voice, and that's all we're trying to do, is be able to do that.
Okay.
Is that? Yeah, I lost the
Yeah, it's
wireless.
gone.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
and then the other part of it, one way or another, so there's this website that will have a URL, that can go live technically at any time. It just really needs the content to be
Mhm.
scrubbed and otherwise.
Mhm.
Right.
And for some of you that may be a little bit more techno-challenged, I'm sure I can print it out on paper and you can just sketch it up that way, that's fine
Mhm.
too. Because I'm used to translating from that. But it's, the first stage is what's that first initial burst?
Mhm.
So can other videos be added? Yeah. Is it the first thing that people are gonna be looking at? Maybe, maybe not. Even if you prioritize yourself next to it, what I usually do a lot of times is put like a 1 through 10. Something next to it, so I remember, yeah, that's a 10. I'll get to that sometime.
Mhm.
Does that kind of make sense? And I swear I came earlier to make sure the hardware worked. And at the time, the Wi-Fi was working. And I should have gone through everything at the time. That's what gave me kind of a link. The new request that Savory was talking about is to put some type of search within the site one way or another. Technically, it is possible. That is there more for visual rather than, so you're not gonna be able to do it yet. I still have a lot of stuff I have to do behind the scenes.
Mhm.
But can it be done? Yes. And will it be done? Yeah. So now it's just going from there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Were there any questions, answers? Not
I
don't throw anything.
have a question for you, and
Okay.
then a couple of things I want to talk about with all of us. Right now, you can access through the Carver webpage, the
Yes.
agenda and minutes from every meeting that we've had in the past.
Sure, yeah, I can say
But
that.
they're in separate buckets. There's an agenda bucket and a minutes bucket.
Correct.
And there is a third part of that, which are the YouTube videos of the meeting that applies to that minutes and that agenda. Is there any way to link the three of them together so that you could just say the date of the meeting and click on it and see the agenda, the minutes, and a link to the video?
Can I answer that?
Go for it.
I might have to call Stephen Dewhurst, because he used to do that before he was ejected. And then what he did is he took the minutes and he put the link to the video in the minutes. So when you read it, when you clicked on the minutes, it opened up, you were reading the minutes and whoops, there was the link, click, and it would open up another window. You didn't get away, that's what's important, you don't get away from what you were reading, it just opened up another window.
That I think is probably an easy thing to do, but that still is going in through the Carver website. It's not going in through this.
It's okay, that's what we're
And that's-
gonna meet on Thursday,
yeah.
we're gonna be,
And that's some of what we're talking about on
Right.
Thursday
Yep.
meeting in here with Joanna and
Right, exactly.
others, is to talk specifically about the town website. That's why at the very beginning of it, I was talking about this too. There's that basic portal at the beginning. And that, it really is, for me, it's more of what's the checklist of you want on that. So the short answer for your question is yes. How, I'm not quite sure how, but it all depends on exactly, and maybe there's a solution already in something that was done in the past.
Yeah,
That's easy enough to do. One of the other things that you can do for videos, if you produce videos even above and beyond after this, is we can put it on the website, either into a bucket or feature it on the front page or both, if that's really where you want to go to. The other thing that we can do to make it easier for some people is some people, like my oldest son, is all about YouTube. And for a lot of these things, you can put it on a YouTube channel. So it is everything about all videos from the RDA or otherwise. So if they're looking for it, they can get on and then they can watch that
Yeah,
within YouTube.
that would solve
Which is even separate.
what we've talked about.
It doesn't drive them here, but at least it gives them the answer that they want.
Yeah, that
And
would
those
solve-
are decisions that, there's not a right or wrong, it's just how you'd like it.
That would solve the issues I was talking to Paul about.
So yes, the videos can be seen from anywhere, and it can be in the site, it can be on YouTube. It can also be as an extension of the town website. One of the concerns originally that we started talking about on the town website is it's kind of restrictive in a good way, in the sense that for most people that are getting into it, just get into a committee and they just want to add one thing. It's not meant to, take that section and move it over here, or move this over to here. It's a little bit more to that, and Joanna and I think Joanna specifically, has a solution in mind of something that was at the beginning of it that we
Yeah.
may be able to move some things
Get them
around.
to do it, yeah.
They're willing to
They're
work
willing.
with us.
They're willing.
It's just truly trying to tell them exactly what we want and how can we get there as a compromise.
Hmm.
Yes? No?
Okay.
Okay, you haven't thrown anything, that's good. Let's see what else. I just want to make sure I'm answering all the stuff that you have. So we started off, we had the wish list, we did the site map or the wireframe or the architecture of it. Two of the new things that I'm hoping to be able to get more connection on content is Stephen Cole with the efforts that he's pushing, and then Hillwood as a whole, because the recent discussions with them saying we really need whatever you have now so we can start, whether it is drone or whether it is D-Day is coming. So it's whether it's January or something along that line. And it's easy enough to trigger, it's just, is it in the right situation? You know, the relatives are coming over, how much do you shove into the closets?
Do you have Owen's emails and
Yeah, everybody has everything.
everybody
so.
has, I mean, you
I think so,
can,
no?
Yeah, the only one I didn't put one was Mark. I didn't have
Okay.
all his information when I sent out the email to you
Okay.
and Paul and Stephen.
and so would it be easier for Paul to follow up with Owen directly about, because he said he was gonna work.
I would have
with you.
Stephen do that.
Okay,
Yeah, for me, it's easier or better, if you wanna call it.
yeah,
Just for consistency, if it's either Savory or Stephen or somebody that truly is seeing the master plan, because I'm just hitting it from this one piece off to the
yeah,
side.
I mean,
The
if
other-
you're looking for the Hillwood video, I mean, Stephen's probably looking for it too, and
Yes.
Yeah,
so.
and I
that
think,
is
I
right.
think there's an awareness amongst everybody that now is the time we need to get through it, and we're making Paul
I think
cry.
we tried to impress that yesterday.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna try to make that meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I have a conflict.
No, we're meeting, you mean with
No,
them?
this
No,
is
that's
a separate
Thursday,
one.
this is.
Oh,
another
second
one.
one?
That's another
Oh, 10 o'clock must be the magic number.
That's why I kept,
Yeah,
when you kept saying 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
it's
no,
what it
I'm
is.
not, I'm on the Thursday meeting.
So if there's something else that springs into mind after giving the basic view, you know, can we do this? And then it's gonna be a matter of what is the priority for the first wave, you know?
well, you had talked about the history of that site
Right,
and what had been there.
Yeah.
Now,
That I don't have too much on.
Goo-
Serpent
Google,
didn't see-
Google Earth Pro would have the history of satellite photos
Okay,
of that property.
I don't think I have. permission on that? That I-
For all the acres?
It's a beta test, you might be able to get in,
Okay,
and if you can't, I can.
whatever.
But I was thinking
content's
that would be a
difference.
good
Yeah.
part of the video to show an overhead saying, you know, the year and what was there then.
That's what I was trying to do.
Google
I was
Pro?
hoping it would go back to the beginning.
What did you say was?
Google Earth Pro.
Google
Earth?
Earth Pro.
Yeah, it just won't.
Are they
let me
storing
in
all their
the
old
original.
photos?
Yeah, you're not
They're
connected.
Yeah, it just won't let me in anymore. But on the home page, what I tried to do to make it so it's less clicks and it's generally more user friendly. It's the old days, I don't know if you remember those, I mean, it's before all of us. But when they had the scrolls,
Yeah.
you know, one way or another, it just can keep on going. On that front page, there is not only the basic information that can start you off, but also down below is the about, and there's some basic information all the way in through there. One of the sections that I put in there was also, that's numbers that we need to have updated, is, you know, how many acres are available for commercial? How many are for this? There's one spot that can be just general. And then, once you go into the projects, then you can start spelling out. We can use that same all the way through that as well.
And that's
through it,
where?
That's on the front page.
On the home page.
So all the way down. And then within projects, the FAQs, some of the discussion is exactly, there's interaction, which is fine, but there's multiple ways to be able to get interaction. Whether you want to get a survey of, you know, what is most important to you out of these 5 things, or whether it's fill in the blank and then eventually somebody kind of sorts them into buckets from there. So structurally, the feedback can be done. I mean, we can get it. It's just a decision on how you want to get it. They can just email things, that's fine too. But for the most part, there'll be multiple opportunities that if they want to be able to contribute to the conversation, then they can ask the question saying, oh, you know, Carver's never had any history of this, or I've never seen that area, things along that line. You'll be able to get those things right to them. And the FAQs that we talked about are very useful as well. That's gonna be probably the most popular page. to be
You're
able to-
going to have a link in the FAQs if people want to ask a question, correct?
I can do, yes, I can do what
Okay.
you want. Right now, I just basically have a spot for the FAQs, because it'll have the summary and then the main body of it, and then it'll have all of that. I can have it so at the top, it just automatically jumps to
So
certain things.
when you hovered over FAQs, there was something that came up and it
Right.
said, what do you want to ask the RDA?
Right, and that's what I was hoping to be able to, somewhere along the line, we can go through and those are different ways to communicate, whether you want a survey or just their name and address so you can send them updates, or, you know, they want to give a narrative. Those are all different approaches, and there's not a right or wrong, it's just what you think is best for the situation.
Okay.
And then also sometimes, for me, I generally go back to the user, what's less intimidating for the user. I don't want to preload them, by saying, here's multiple choice, pick one, and they're saying, well, it's not any of those, but also allowing them some people to write page upon page, and it really doesn't have to do with the original premise.
Well, I think.
Sometimes, maybe it's a combination of both, too.
All right.
Maybe
Well, that's
it's-
something I want to talk to, in
Yeah.
just this, in a second, of what.
So
I
I'll
think
send
we
around
should
the basic thing to you already. Is it best through Savory still, or
Yeah.
through yourself, or, okay? And then, like I said, any input, especially content or otherwise, let me know and
Okay,
I'll do it. I'm just going off a wish list and trying my best on
okay,
it. Okay?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, it looks good. All right, so just seeing this, I've got a couple of thoughts, and I want everybody else's, input on this and figure out what we think we should do. My original thought was that to give this some credence of going through the Carver website first. Clicking on carverma.org, going to the RDA page, and having a click that goes to Paul's page. That's 2 extra clicks that we may not need. if we're replying on social media to a comment, my feeling is just, it's seeing this now, why not just send them right here?
I think we'll be able to, right?
Yes, we can.
We can copy and paste the link.
Yes,
So,
but
Yeah.
instead of having them go to Carver, then Carver RDA to get to here.
uh-huh.
And then on the homepage here, we have a link to the Carver RDA page.
Yes, that's probably.
So doing it in the reverse of what I
Doing it in
originally.
reverse.
Wait, hold
They're
on, hold
going
on.
to-
If you open Carver, the MA dot whatever,
The town of Carver.
the town of Carver, there is a tab called the North Carver Project.
And it
That
would still-
should be sending you over there.
And it will.
And it
But
will.
I'm saying that if there are comments or misinformation or questions that come up on social media, our answer is going to be, and we've discussed this, our answer is going to be, to find the answer that you want, please click on this link. And
Okay,
that link should bring them to
That
Paul's
link should bring
page.
them to that page.
okay, so you're on Facebook,
Yes,
wherever you're gonna
yeah,
answer that, go to that link
Yeah.
over there.
go to the.
Yeah, you're right, it should bring them right
Yeah.
to there.
Right.
Okay,
The
so,
fewer clicks, the better.
yes, and then we can still have the tab on the Carver page,
Right.
because people may go there first.
Yeah.
And that, clicking on that tab will bring them here.
Absolutely, yeah.
And on the RDA page, there will
Right.
be another tab on the Carver
There, and there
MA
is already.
RDA
And
page.
it's not a tab, it's a link. And
Okay.
it just says, it takes you over there. And we'll be working on that on Thursday night, I want to.
Okay, all right. Paul, you understand
Yes, sir.
that? Okay. So the landing page should really be the RDA, Paul's RDA page, yep.
Paul, is there a way to check new users versus views versus?
Yeah, there's something called analytics. Basically, it's all the numbers behind it.
Okay,
That's the beauty of doing things online,
okay.
is they can tell.
Who do you,
It's-
counting the clicks?
Counting either new
Yeah,
users.
How many, in what pages they're going to
Yeah,
and
and
things
where they
along
go.
that.
Yeah.
Just,
And that generally comes in once a month,
yeah, that,
depending
it
on
just
how
gives
much it
you
is.
an
That
idea.
can also, then I can get that back to you and then you can make discussions from
Okay.
that, saying this is the more popular one, maybe we should add more to that. That's fine too.
Okay,
But there might be a reason, something you're not seeing or hearing, that all of a sudden everybody keeps popping to this one page and you're going, I don't know why they're
okay,
doing that.
what's going on?
Yeah, and it's a good way to all of a sudden go, oh, okay, something is going on there.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a thought, because we want to accept somebody's name and address, so if they want to be apprised, I think the Carver
Like a subscriber
website,
list?
there's a subscriber type list.
I'm sure I mean, you can do it within YouTube and other things. You can send in, I can have it sent that somebody, if they want to put their name in, they can have that sent to an email.
Right.
Then somebody then has to then manage it or keep it on the other end. That's
Okay.
to keep them up to date. And that's where it's, you know,
Yeah.
to Savory's point at the beginning of it, it's probably best to keep sending it right back to the website.
Yeah,
And if you think you need to update the website, it's organic that all of a sudden you're saying, this line is confusing people, let's change it. If he sends it, emails it, it can be done in a day. That's done.
Yeah, okay.
go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, I do not think it's a good idea to have an email address, because that's engagement, and it's what we're trying to avoid with social media. We could be inundated with emails. Who's gonna answer them? Who's gonna answer 20 or 30 a day? And what if it's not answered fast enough, and now?
Or to their
What if
satisfaction.
we did an auto reply that said, make sure your email,
Please see.
go here now, we will post responses
But if there is no email to begin with,
Yeah,
you don't have to do that.
It's true.
You know, you-
Why put something there that could anger somebody? It's like, I wanted to send them an email and all I got was go here. We're not a company, we're not a corporation that has someone who answer, we don't have a customer service, really. So I'm thinking that under the FAQs where Paul had, what do you want to ask the RDA?
Mhm.
That's where those questions go.
That's a good
And-
point. I think
and
you're
that
adding
way-
a layer.
because there's a very real possibility that the same question can be asked over and over and over by separate people, day after day after day, who don't go there first.
Yeah.
And then it gets repetitive, and it becomes quite a task to make sure that these people's queries are answered. And it frankly becomes a job. And I think if we have it so that there is a place on the website where you can ask the question, then you go in once a day. At the end of the day, you go in and see what's there. And then you either answer them if you have the answers at the time, or you find out the answer in the next day or two and you put it up there as an FAQ on the website.
I like that idea better.
Could we have like I don't know if it's doable, I mean, I don't know if it's doable within the architecture, but for instance, there's a software tool that we use at my office, and when you're trying to submit a support ticket and you start typing what you want support on, it literally starts bringing up FAQ and help articles that, it's like predictive text, like, you may want to read this before you stick your ticket in. So I don't know if it's possible to avoid what you were talking about, where someone, like 5 people might ask the same question. But if you were gonna go there and you wanted instant gratification and you didn't bother to read the FAQs first, you just, I have a question, and you started typing what you wanted to talk about, and it said, you know, literally what I'm thinking of, a box appears below where you type, and it starts showing you their help topics, but it could show you the
Keywords.
FAQ. Yeah, the FAQ topics, and someone might say, oh, the answer's already here, stop typing, click, and read the answer.
Wouldn't the search box accommodate that?
That's what I'm getting at, yeah, from the search, like.
There would be a search box, and if you put a word in the search box and no results shown, then you go down and you ask your question.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is if somebody searches for something and it doesn't, if they ignore the search box.
Right.
But what I'm getting at is, can we have the same functionality in the, where you ask the question?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just,
I'm thinking I'm just thinking like the way my mind
Yeah.
works. If I was going to the site and I wanted to ask a question and I saw a search, again, I'm one person, but I would look at that and go, no, I'm not searching for something that's here. I want to ask a question. So I might go directly there and I might ignore the search box, and I might not, and then I might be a jerk and I might ignore all the questions that were already answered. And I might say, I just want to ask this right now.
what if you put them close together, like in both the search box and the question box? You know, look here for, you know, enter your category and search. If you don't get a result, ask your question here. That way you know, and you know, kind of highlight that in its own box, those two things together.
Investigate.
So that,
Let me just interject. If I took what you said, I like that, because if I was typing in the question and behind the scenes, we took those words as keywords and you could bring it up.
Yeah.
Oh, like you said, because the content might be answering that person's question. Yeah, you're right, and that can be done. That can be done by using that. That too complicated. This is more general. You just use behind the scene
Yeah.
keyword, and you just check, and then you go up, and then you can bring up some of these FAQs that you had, and that person could probably continue to look at that and so forth. I think we can work on that.
I'm just like, I'm trying to think ahead, because like right now we have a reasonable number of questions answered, but what if it was triple that number? People aren't scrolling through that. They're gonna wanna just, once it gets to the point where they're like, oh my God, there's 37 questions I gotta go through, I'm not gonna bother to look to see if mine was already answered, I'm just gonna ask it.
yeah.
We jump past that.
Human nature, yeah, I get
well,
it.
exactly, right,
Yeah.
yeah, people are gonna not
Yeah.
wanna scroll and read through
So
all of
if
it.
your question is answered, you know, you're gonna just forget that, and you're just
That's
gonna start reading all those other things, or you're gonna continue with your question and enter it, and it's gonna get sent.
Because,
Okay.
because the number of questions we're going to get at some point, I mean, I don't say it's gonna hit critical mass or whatever, but multiple people are gonna ask the same question.
Very close. They're gonna-
Exactly, and you might see something and say, oh yeah, all right, that's close enough, I'm good, and move on, and then we avoid people waiting to hear back. I like what you were saying about the email thing, and I wasn't thinking that way originally, But people are gonna wanna be answered right now, and the faster they get answered, then they might be feeling better faster, and they might tell people what they.
They
found out.
wanna know now.
Yeah, exactly. So the more we can just get them in and get them out without having to wait for us to go in and say,
Yep.
Hey, somebody already asked that question. Scroll 3 pages up and you'll see it.
Right.
How difficult, Paul, is predictive text to do?
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, metadata, yeah, it's an awful lot.
definitely, but I can investigate.
Okay.
Maybe there's an app, or maybe there's something that would help the
Yeah.
process. I don't know.
Mm.
I've dealt with some of it. Sometimes it's also, I've seen it in forms,
Yeah.
that you're filling out the same form and you start kind of typing in for me, I put PAU and
Oh, it brings back up
Do you
some,
mean all this stuff? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean all that stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah,
It
it's like,
also scares me that all that stuff's on my computer, but
Right.
at least it does make it easier for me that
Yeah.
plugging through and then I change 1 or 2 things and then I'm out.
Yeah, it's
So
like-
there is pre-population that on forms I know about, on the search part of it, I just have to figure out how, I don't know how comprehensive it is.
okay.
It generally, from the bottom up, it's comprehensive. But
So
there
you're
might
talking
be-
something like a Google search where you put in the first 2 letters and all of a sudden 10 or
It
12
pops
things
up,
pop
yeah.
up.
Yeah,
All
and
these
the
things
one I'm
pop-
thinking of, the tool that we use at the office, it's this web hosted tool that we use, and we're new with it, and so I've had to go in and say, I have no idea what I'm doing, I need help with this thing. And when I start raising a support ticket, I'll get 3 or 4 words into what my problem is, and like 5 help articles will show up. And then I can look at those and say, oh, yeah, that actually is the problem I'm having, because somebody already had that problem, and they'll tell you how to fix it without me having to wait 3 days for someone to get back to me.
Okay, and that's whatever system that is, looking through your complete database and,
It's actually looking through their database of their own help articles based on the words I typed in.
yeah.
So it's, what it's saying is, we already have your answer here. Stop typing, look. You didn't click that button when you were supposed to, that's why software doesn't work. I don't know
Okay.
if there's like an interim step, if the predictive is hard, where when somebody submitted, it could do like a behind-the-scenes search against the existing FAQs. It could show you 5 or 6 of them and say, hey, do any of these answer your question? If no, submit. If yes, move on.
Right, yeah,
Something like that.
yeah, that's what I would say, yeah.
okay. Two more things quickly. Paul, you had mentioned the YouTube channel. My feeling is that this is relatively simple, what you've done, and you're going to have a wider breadth of people that are going to be able to navigate through this.
The reason why I bring up the YouTube channel is there are some people that are YouTube people.
Yeah, that's true.
That they watch their programming there, they watch everything through there, and for them to start there and then back into, it's very possible, but it's not too laborious to put that video into a library on there. So that's my only concern on it, well, my primary concern on it, is that there are people that are, I know, that are YouTube people.
But they would still be able to
They can still
navigate
get,
things.
yeah.
I'm worried the other way. I'm worried about the people who don't have the YouTube
Yeah.
channel knowledge, thinking that they're missing out on something because they don't understand
In
how.
theory, you could do it on both, you can have the video
Yeah.
there, and you can also have it off for those people that are there too. And then
Okay.
when you talk social media, that's a whole different beast unto itself.
Yeah, I understand that.
Different accounts. and
Oh,
different-
yeah, no.
Okay, and the last thing is feedback. That's to me is a bit of a frightening word, of people giving feedback on the project. These,
What do you mean by
well, Paul had mentioned,
feedback versus opinions?
feedback is, well, I think there should be 4 lights at the end of Montella Street. People trying to direct people throwing out their ideas of what this project should be is, I think it's a slippery slope. I think it could be,
That's true.
I
again,
mean, can we?
I think the
highlight
FAQs,
our-
I don't
Yeah,
know,
the FAQs, I think, handle, just
yeah.
I would hate for us to have to be in the business of having to monitor and edit the feedback, because that carries its own negative connotation. Like,
Yeah.
I took my feedback down. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but your feedback said we used eminent domain and we didn't. Well, so we took it down. But then there's still, you've got the negative connotation of, I'm censored. We don't,
Right,
who wants to be in that business? That's its
right.
own.
If you want to ask a question about eminent domain, it's going to be up there already, but
Right.
feel free to ask it, but the answer's there.
Exactly.
So I don't want to allow a,
Was this a specific feedback
well, no, Paul
button,
mentioned,
or-
Paul mentioned it as one of the ways to communicate.
Oh,
And,
And maybe just keeping
I
away
just-
from that word and we just keep it
yeah, my
as
feeling is,
input or.
yeah, I just keep it as simple to the FAQ box and the search box.
The other thing that I would bring up, since you're talking about FAQs, is that if there is a way to prioritize the more
Mhm.
popular ones towards the top.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know, I haven't seen any of the FAQs, so I don't know, but because when people are scrolling down and they literally keep going all the way down, if they, to your point, if they hit it quick, then now all of a sudden, oh, okay, other people have that same question. And they're
Mhm.
probably going to have those same
I think,
90%.
I think a better way to do that, and once all the FAQs are put out there, we can work on that. I think a better way to do that is to categorize them. Financial impact, traffic impact, conservation impact, things like that, so that it
That's a
narrows
good
the search
idea,
down.
yeah.
That's good.
You know, so
Sure, we can-
that
yeah.
you can even just, you know, you can have just the headers as clickable points, and when you click on that, all the FAQs under that header come up.
Yeah.
So, you know, that way it's a simple search mechanism, so that people don't have to scroll, to Paul's point.
Yeah,
They just have to find the category they want, and then somewhere embedded in there is the answer that they're either, that, the answer's either there, or then now they go
But
back
now
up
they
to the
have
top and ask
the
it.
yeah,
question.
yeah,
So
they have a
maybe-
choice.
Maybe that would be an easier method, is that if we divide them by subcategories, if they don't find it there,
Yeah.
then they can ask the question.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Um,
okay, that's it.
Do you have any sense of a launch date?
12:20.
How you feeling about that, Paul?
Well, you're pretty well built. You know,
Yeah.
if we gave you
Well, I mean-
content.
Oh, really?
Well, the
I
framework is there.
The
read
framework.
somewhere today,
Just take it, just take it.
I read somewhere today, and I think it was probably in reference to something scientific, that it's better to get something out there that's not perfect, and then make it perfect, than
Oh,
to
yeah.
wait until
Oh,
it's perfect
definitely.
and get it out.
Oh,
I
definitely.
understand that part, and that still is with the organic part.
To
You're gonna
err
add.
is human.
So,
So-
yes, something can get done, it is a matter of which one of the wish lists that you wanna make sure that you get in, that, so, it's easy enough, I won't say easy enough, but it's simple enough, I guess,
But
to
if you
be able to
have,
get it done.
if you have the PAC TV video, if you have a video from Hillwood, if you have the FAQs, that's a good starting point.
Well, again, I have pieces, but it's more of, this is a beast unto itself, that it still has a lot of content. So the short answer is yes, I can, whatever you need on it. If you're seeing a house I've seen in new houses being built, all of a sudden you see the walls go up and you say, oh, it's almost done. And then all of a sudden, the electrician shows up and the plumber shows, and there's all of a sudden, wait a minute, it's not almost done, it's still, that's kind of the same type of visual, I guess, on the website. Yes, the structure and the buckets, but this is going by my interpretation at the beginning of this, my interpretation of your requests. So, I
Well,
hate to say a blanket yes, but yes, I mean, we'll figure something out.
okay, I
I'll
mean,
get you.
had you not lost Wi-Fi tonight, we would have been able to,
Well, again,
Go a little
just,
bit
and
more
this
in
is,
depth.
this is, yeah, and this is more of, yeah, and it takes more than just you know, because that's why those links, I'll send it out that you can go through and say, well, I like this, I wanna move this into here. We can do all those things, but I don't know what's going to come back. If this is all, yes, the whole format is right, and the architecture is set, then yes, it's not that complicated.
Well, I think it's important to have something up sooner than later.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
I
I agree
think
with
that even if only a handful of people access it in the beginning, because it's not a highly sensitive topic yet, that, word of mouth
Yeah.
may bring more people to it, but as the time the audience to it is building, we are tweaking and getting it better
Yeah.
to where we want, so. I
Should we
would-
have a drop-down just devoted to town meeting? Or will that come a little bit later?
What would you suggest would be there? The article?
The articles probably. Because
Well-
what we've said from the beginning is that our fear is that someone will come to town meeting and say, this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Well, I think that the landing page, and this is again
Well,
content.
exactly, this is,
The landing page, I believe, has to be directed that this is what you need to know before town meeting.
right,
So that's where it's mentioned, right when you get there.
okay.
And maybe you put the town meeting, the date.
As we get closer, maybe there is a town meeting info pack. And it
Okay.
has all of, these are the things that you're probably going to need. You're gonna need a copy of the article, you need a copy of this is the info that you're probably gonna ask.
Mhm.
And we can put that digitally here, as that gets closer, yeah.
Okay.
Back to what Rick was saying before.
They should be able to
Probably
print
best
out
to
that.
maybe
They
have
can
a
print it
final
out as well.
form.
You'd wanna let them print it
It's
out.
gonna be 7 separate things
Well,
versus
exactly,
one, you know.
exactly. I think what we're getting in by the 20th is the probably 90% of what we're gonna need, and then it's definitely a placeholder too.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I mean, that can't be posted. We can't post it
No,
until
we
it's
can't post it.
approved
You're right.
by legal and the select board. We can't have the draft up there.
Can we put on it draft?
No,
No.
We can't even do that?
no. We shouldn't do that.
We shouldn't,
We shouldn't do that?
no, we shouldn't.
No, because we don't know how it's gonna change.
Oh, we're definitely gonna change, there's no doubt about
Right.
that. Definitely
Right,
gonna change.
and you don't want someone printing it out in December and bringing it in April,
That's true.
saying this is what I have.
Yeah, how come it doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah,
You told
exactly.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's black and white, look at my paper. Yeah.
So at the next point, you're meeting with Stephen Cole tomorrow?
Yes. and
Is
then
that tomorrow?
the
Yeah,
next day.
I can't be there and you can't be there. You have a
I'm gonna,
And I'm just
I gotta be there.
trying to help give them any info that I have.
Okay.
things
Okay,
like
I'll
that.
probably talk to him later in the afternoon.
all right.
Everybody feel good about this right now? Okay,
Yeah,
the next article was, an update from KP Law, and we know that there's
that's a shame.
and it's difficult, I really don't have access directly to Kate Klein or Amy Questle. I have to go through, the board has to go through Rick first. And I think between the disruption in the town administrator's office and the disruption in the planning office, there's been some balls dropped that were being juggled, and
Yeah.
and it's imperative that we have some kind of feedback. I told Hillwood when they gave them to us that these were not set stone until they were reviewed by our council from our viewpoint. I mean, there's nothing, enormous in there other than the height change. And that was a situation that Chief Weston has been working almost constantly on to get into a comfort level. And while they're moving towards an agreement, there's nothing set in stone yet there either, so.
So has the chief seen these potential?
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
seen
yeah.
them all, okay.
Yep.
And has he been able to have any input to it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I figured as
A
much.
lot of this begins and ends with Chief Weston.
True, okay.
The update on 94th Street.
I got one update.
I know, hang on, let me talk first. I gotta get my words in edgewise.
Sure.
we know that, I think I sent you all the email that Jack Williams has dropped out, and he did say that we could keep the deposit, $5,000, which we spent quite a bit of money just getting it legally ours. If you remember what we had to go through to get the deeds back that had been lost on 94th Street. Joanna, when I asked her a month or so ago to review the P&S, which she did, and she found that in Article Section 29, that in order for it to be terminated by agreement, there is a process. There is a paper that must be signed by both the, the P and the S. So I had asked KP Law some time ago to review. I sent them the link. I sent them the copy of the P&S that they had prepared for us. I sent them Jack's, email thread with Jack's response as to, I'm out, and create this paper for us.
Release.
I have not heard back from them either on this, and we have a end date of 12/31
Yeah.
for that. So that is something I simply want done. Joanna, to you.
All right, great, thank you. I talked to Sharon and I said, Sharon, we do have a lawyer. I keep mentioning her name is Kathleen O'Donnell. I sent you an email tonight. If you opened your phone, you would have got this email that I just sent a picture of her. She's out of Milton. Do you remember seeing this in your phone? It's an email. I just sent it to you, really late on my part. It was like 5:33.
I don't have Carver MA on my phone.
Okay. So anyway, basically, you want me to read the email?
If you want to.
It says, I'm telling everybody, I spoke with Kathleen this afternoon and she will send us a letter of engagement. Not a contract, but a letter of engagement. Mind you, she was, or still is, has never broken ties with her. Her fee is still $150 per hour. She will attend, she agreed to come to, because she doesn't know anybody. She knows me, but all of you. And so she will attend one of our meetings in person and introduce herself. And the rest of the business we can do via Zoom. Kathleen did work, and this was always a question, Kathleen did work for KP Law. And that is how both Will St. Clair, Sarah Hewins, Jack Hunter knew Kathleen. Kathleen stated the town was coming into some 61A land, and the same attorney, no, I want to listen to this one, and the same attorney could not be involved in both the buy and the sell of the land. Question of what's going on today, we might want to backtrack. She decided to go on her own, and her first client was the Redevelopment Authority. She holds the RDA near and dear to her heart. Can't wait to have her back, that's my explain. I'll be working with her on the release of Jack Williams. See you all tonight, Joanna. This is when you get back, this is who she is. I'll be calling her tomorrow and exchange conversations with her, working on that release. Let me just tell you a couple things. I kind of regressed about our prior town administrator. You people are new, you know. Town administrator came to us and says, property? Here's like, how many pages that KP Law created, and he gave to us and said, you know what?
It was 9 pages.
9 pages. You got to advertise, you got to go out to bid, you have to go through an auction and so forth. And Savory broke the contract with Brenda Titus that we had to sell the properties for us. And it was easy.
Well, the RDA broke the contract. I was the person who.
I think we asked you to go and do it, the lesser,
Yes, yeah,
the lesser
just
people.
Go rogue on a Savory.
Just to be clear.
Okay, great. Well, I learned from Kathleen in this conversation, because I said to her, the RDA is a quasi-group. No, she said. There's no such thing as that. You are, quote unquote, your own authority. You have nothing to do with the town or any of those links. And she said, the reason I left KP Law is because when the town acquires, there's an acquisition, the same lawyer can't do the sell. That's against the law, and she quoted some chapter. I go, really? Oh, yeah, she said. I said, oh, yeah? KP Law looks at it a little differently, and she said, well, Kathleen could probably do what Kathleen, the lawyer, will do whatever she's asked to do, but the lawyer, the people who own the business are the one that make their rules. Not a problem. So I said to her, let me just reiterate, you mean that we, the RDA, can acquire some land from the town and we can have you, the lawyer, back again? Yeah. And I can call the real estate agent, Brenda Titus, and ask her to sell the property? She goes, yeah. Most all RDAs do that. They don't indulge in doing their own. They have a real estate agent. I said, okay. So, I am interested and anxious to bring her in here. And I know we're thick and thick with this.
No, I mean, obviously, the North Carver project is taking over 95% of our time, but Forest Street takes over the other 5.
So.
But it's still land that we own, it's still something that we need to do.
Right.
And we do have to formalize the end.
Right. And so I asked her and I told her, I said, we used to be on the tops, take off town-owned properties. And so I took it upon myself to talk to Kathy Kay, the treasurer. And I asked her about tops. Oh, yeah, she said. And I sent out the letter to Will St. Clair, but he never did answer or anything like that. And I said, you realize Will St. Clair is not on the redevelopment anymore? She said, yeah, I heard. Oh. She said he didn't tell the committee or transfer it so somebody else could appear? I said, no. So apparently there's some sales going on with Zekas here, and 2 of those properties, .65 acre wooded site on Roberts Way with frontage, also on Pine Way, could have been ours, but they are too long and too much into this process to try to pull it back, because I asked her if they could do it. She did say to me, in January, she's going to have properties that are titled, and did I want to be or someone on the committee? And I said, yes, please send us. I said, if anybody, I'll go. I said, and I said, there are other people that maybe could go on that committee as well. So what did I just tell you? First of all, we can have a real estate agent selling our property, okay? We can take back, or the town can give us titled property, right? 90 Forest Street or whomever. We have a lawyer that's going to be creating the P&S, work right with Brenda Titus, because I called her up too. And to the closing as well. So a piece of us, as a redevelopment, really should employ ourselves to building our treasury with land that we should be acquiring from the town, selling it, whatever. And so I want to go forward, obviously with the 90 Forest Street, get that all cleared. But in January, I want to stay very close to Tops and to see what's going on there and to make it available.
All right, well, I think we should vote to accept the idea of Kathleen O'Donnell to handle at least the 94th Street P&S. We're under kind of another deadline. I will notify KP Law that I don't need them for this.
Okay.
If they happen to stumble
That's right.
across it.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I got a question in first.
Too late, but go ahead.
If Kathleen says that it can go this way, but she also tells you that KP Law says it can go that way, Is this gonna end up in a problem sometime?
My second comment, after just allowing Kathleen to take care of the PNS, is that we will vet that. I mean,
That just
I
kinda
mean,
struck me as wrong.
I came on the RDA,
Because what
just
she
about
said
that
doesn't
time.
mean that it's, you know, that's her interpretation. I mean, laws are interpreted differently.
Exactly.
As we all know. And her interpretation, and then you've got KP Law's interpretation. And the whole thing is what's going on in this office here. We're gonna be just really, we're losing a lot of continuity here.
Yeah,
You know, and it really is, that is very bothersome to me, and the future of this group and everything else that's going on. We don't know what's going on in the next several months, and
No.
they're critically important.
if we end up with a part-time TA, then,
Well, especially, even if it's a full-time TA, it's an interim.
right,
Who basically interims come in to maintain
they keep the lights on.
what's going on. And I've made this point before,
Mhm.
we don't want, we've got a point person in the current town administrator that carries forth information from different boards and so forth, and is in a position to make decisions. Don't want to see interims doing that.
In that, there's such diversity between the two opinions, those will be checked out. But for right now, Kathleen O'Donnell can take care of the PNS, draw up the release that we need so that Jack Williams and we can sign it. When we get to January and we'll talk about marketing the property again, then that discussion will be vetted out.
Also, when I gave you this email, she's Milton Land Use and Zoning Lawyer. She's a municipality lawyer.
Great, we have two very different opinions on how we can dispose property, and we won't do it wrong. So that's a discussion for January, and if there is a seat at the TOPS table, we can discuss that in January as well, because I think we should have a member on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, when Mr. Williams was involved in the 90 Forest Street
Mhm.
property, we did not follow the KP law auction bid situation. We pretty much,
I gave that, no, it could go onto the central register, which is where it was
Okay.
marketed. And it could go on our own website.
All right.
The big issue was that no profit could be made by anyone else. So
right,
we couldn't pay a commission.
right, okay.
So that was the biggest quirk in
Oh,
the disposal.
she asked if you could give it, do you have a copy of it?
I do.
You do?
I have it
Could
on
you
PDF.
give it to me?
I'll send it to her.
Okay, because she asked me if I could send that.
I will send, I have it on PDF, so.
Okay.
So that's it for 94th Street.
Yep.
Is there a treasurer's report?
There is not a treasure.
I got one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna do it, I mean, because
It's why don't you read it?
the month isn't over.
Here, you read it. You're the treasurer. And here's your receipt too for the 4,800. I want to make sure you got it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I wasn't gonna do, I'm gonna tell you my
There you go.
plan on this. And I'm gonna still use Johanna's spreadsheet. But, we get through November, but the reason I didn't do it is because November's not over, and
Yes,
I'm gonna
no.
reconcile.
No interest.
I'm gonna reconcile statements on a monthly basis. I'll send them out to the rest of the board in an email, and that will get you information faster than waiting for it at the following meeting.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just
Okay,
gonna do,
good.
I'm just gonna do it like I do my other treasurer jobs. Reconcile the statement, and that's the monthly report.
Okay.
So this one is, I'll just do real quick because Johanna gave it to me. 5,788.09 the checking account, 29,324.09 in the RDA money market account. We've got 15,200.05 in the money market, Hillwood money market account. The urban renewal plan account, 4758.11. And that's not inclusive of any of the pittance of interest that is usually given.
Pittance is
on a
being
monthly-
Pittance.
kind.
Pittance,
on a
pittance.
monthly basis. So, that would be my plan anyway, is to provide everybody an email version of this a few days after the close of the month.
All right.
And then everybody gets it, and if there's any, anything big that happens between the time that you get it and the time we meet again, that would be what I would speak to.
Very good, thank you.
All right, yes, thank you.
I
And
move
said
that we
get a-
accept it.
We get a bill from, oh, sure. I don't
Should,
think we have
a
to vote
motion
on
to
it.
accept that?
Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report as read? So moved.
Second.
So,
All in favor, say aye.
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 Members' comments? I have none.
I think I said everything.
No? Okay.
You were,
I think,
you were veering.
yeah, I'm done.
Okay, we need to set one more meeting, in December. Can everybody look at their
Calendar?
calendars? I think someone should be available on the 21st for the
Select board?
select board meeting.
Yeah.
Just in case, I don't know that they'll look at them,
Yeah.
but I think somebody should be available. And I think after this, we should either invite them in for a joint meeting, or to attend a meeting with us.
I think a joint meeting
A
is,
joint, I
Yeah.
think at least a joint meeting for a small portion of their meeting, just to kind of go over, make.
are you talking about the 21st?
I think.
I would think so.
Well, I don't know what their agenda is yet, so, let's not schedule a meeting for that night. So that's what I'm saying. So what do you think about the 14th? Savory, where are you in your meetings?
I could do that.
December 14th?
Yeah, the question I have is, do we know? Oh, that's not something the planning board's meeting that night.
They are,
Yeah, at 7.
okay.
But there's nothing, they won't have anything from us yet. I'm wondering, because we want to meet with them too.
We want to meet with them too, and I think
Would that be after select board?
it can be, it's just time-wise so tight. We can meet with them informally if 2 members want to show up to their meeting, just to have any questions, or meet with them, or meet with Bruce, or, I don't know, to explain the zoning bylaws that we're proposing. It can be the meeting after we submit them, I suppose.
Okay.
Oh, they're gonna have to have their hearing.
Well, those
That's
are
in
in
January.
March.
Or-
January, I think.
No, February and March,
Yeah.
depending on how many they have to have. They have multiple meetings
They
because they
do?
don't do because they're gonna be more than one zoning bylaw change.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So they're gonna have 3 or 4 articles on one night, then 3 or 4 on
But
another night.
let's hope all of ours come together at one night.
They do, they'll do one public hearing on.
We're
it.
only gonna submit one article.
Yeah,
We're submitting one article, but they're gonna have solar bylaws, they're gonna have other zoning bylaw changes, so they can't have a public hearing on all of their zoning bylaws on one night. It's just, it would last too long, and you'd have too
Okay.
many people. So they historically have gone across 3 meetings, public hearings, and it just depends on which one we're in.
Oh,
We're
okay.
in.
So we, as a group, would have already, before the 20th or before the selectmen's meeting, would we get to see the articles?
well, that's why I'm trying to pick a date closest to the 20th, so I'm
Okay.
picking the 14th.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is everyone good the 14th?
I have a training class that runs all day, the 13th, 14th, and 15th, and I won't be able to leave Quincy until after 6, so I will not be able to make it.
How's everybody else?
I'm open.
I can do it.
Pat, are you good? I'll forward you, as soon as I get them, any comments, send them back to me, okay?
Sounds good to me, thank you.
All right, we'll set the meeting for the 14th
Yep.
at 6.
Okay.
Is everybody
What
good?
room are you gonna choose?
Yeah, one other thing, and we talked about this earlier, we have to backtrack a little bit. Did everyone look at Paul's FAQs?
I did.
Are we good with them?
I'm good with them.
All right, do we need to vote or just,
I don't
Yeah, but I have some more things I wanted to add.
well,
It-
go on the website,
It's
there's a little
ups-
box in the upper corner.
It's all upstairs, I can do it tomorrow.
Send
Well-
an email to all of us.
I will.
Send an email to all of us.
I will.
And again, it's, like Paul says, it's fluid, so
Yeah.
that, I think we need to get as much launched as we can.
As soon as we can, yeah.
As soon as we can.
Okay,
Um,
so I'll do that tomorrow.
All right, so our meeting will be the 14th at 6 PM.
Yeah,
I'll try and get this room in case Paul has something for us.
What room did you say?
this
This
one.
one.
This one here,
If I
one?
can.
Number
Well, planning
one?
board.
Oh, let them do it upstairs.
Okay.
No,
We'll definitely try to get this
They're at
Wi-Fi
They're
going.
at
We'll
7,
find out
so
what's
we'll be at
wrong with the
6.
Wi-Fi.
it's an old building. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.